What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fight Like Hell podcast. This is episode 29, and we're coming to you on kind of an awkward day. We're coming to you on a Thursday. In case you're listening in the year 2057, today is August 26th, 2021. I forgot what year it was because I almost fucked myself up with. But yeah, it's a Thursday, and this was actually for next week's podcast. However, there's a big reason why. Austin, would you explain who we have on as our guest?
Well, I mean, originally we had her planned for Sunday, and that was my bad because I thought I scheduled her
Someone
for
fucked that
Monday.
up.
And I was like, wait, that's not going to work. But we have Erica from Tacmobility on here. How are you, Erica?
I am doing super well. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
So, yeah, and then we plan on releasing this. What did we decide? Saturday, Rob?
I honestly,
Saturday night or Sunday?
I say we put up a poll tomorrow and see if people want it released on Friday or Saturday, like Friday night or Saturday afternoon.
That's fine.
Because I think people are going to vote for it. But then they got to realize that they don't get a podcast for like about 9 days or so. Because
until the next
I'm
Monday.
not doing a podcast on Monday. I can't do 3 in a row in less than 7 days.
You could too.
I mean, I could.
you could.
You could.
You could.
But let's get into this. So normally, Erica, one of the things we do is we talk about our weekend adventures.
Yours,
but
I don't know what just happened, but you like cut out badly.
Like on audio or video?
It was both.
Okay. So we'll continue, I guess. As long as the audio is there, that's all
we're being canceled.
Care about. Huh?
So we're being canceled.
Weekend adventures. So we normally talk about things that either happened the weekend, but we're kind of like almost to the next weekend.
I know. So, I don't even know.
I'm gonna preface it however you would like it, Erica, because Austin lives a very boring life, and he's literally I'm gonna ask it this way because everyone knows what Austin did last weekend, which is nothing.
Nothing.
So,
like usual.
Austin, what are you doing this weekend?
Nothing.
Okay. Erica, was there anything fun that happened last weekend since we didn't have you on as a guest on Monday, and or is there anything fun going on for you this weekend?
I just got back from New York last night or yesterday. Yeah, so
okay.
I've been training with New York SWAT officers for the last couple days, and I'm just now back home. So I had a very eventful, lots of travel.
Lots of jet lag too, right? Aren't you on the West Coast?
I am. So I'm in Arizona. My flight was at 5, departed at 5 a.m. on Monday morning. So I had to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And there's this weird, okay, so I can fuck with 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not too terrible, but the 3 o'clock hour, stop it. The fucking 2 o'clock hour, it felt like
I don't go to bed till then. So
it fucked me up. And then, I was on New York time, which is 3 hours ahead of me. So it was just this big, just super fucked up headspace that you get into when you jump time zones. But then I'm jumping time zones to go to a conference, and everybody wants to party and hang out until the wee hours of the morning. So I've been,
So how much sleep have you gotten the past couple of days?
Not a lot at all. Probably 10 hours of sleep. And I typically get 9 hours, 8 hours a day.
So plenty is what you're saying.
Yes, I don't have the typical PTSD or sleep problems that most of my friends do. So by I lay 9:30 feels like a great bedtime for me.
That's a late night. At 9:30, 10 o'clock.
I'm not kidding you. So when Austin was like, hey, we can meet at 7:30 when we were trying to figure out our schedule, he said 7:30. I'm like, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can offer you at 7:30 p.m. that's going to be useful.
Yeah, and because these can sometimes run long. Our average guest is usually an hour to anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long. So yeah, that would have been bad if you would have started even later. And
she's gonna fall asleep in the middle of the podcast.
You said Arizona. I'm actually moving to Arizona in 4 or 5 weeks.
Yep.
That's awesome. What part are you moving to?
The Grand Canyon, actually. I know. It
Her
sounds
face
crazy.
is like, what? Why are you moving to the Grand Canyon?
Yeah, no, I'm moving to the Grand
So,
Canyon.
yeah, explain why you're moving to the Grand Canyon, Rob.
Well, our listeners know, but Erica doesn't know. I just got a promotion out there to go run an IT and like cybersecurity team with the National Park Services out there. So me and the service dog are gonna go live out there.
Yeah,
I've
because
actually never been to the Grand
enthusiastic.
he works for the federal government, so.
Okay, I've actually never been to the Grand Canyon, so to be fair, like, I mean, it could be like the most amazing place to live. It could be.
I mean, we'll find out.
It's the middle of nowhere.
It's definitely in the middle of nowhere. It's definitely still on a reservation. You definitely have access to like very little. But I mean, it could be the most amazing thing that you're ever going to experience.
We'll find out shortly. It's better than where I currently live in Wyoming. I'm down with leaving here.
You're in Wyoming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. So you're used to like non-craziness, I imagine then?
Yeah, I moved down from Alaska to Wyoming to Arizona.
Oh, so this is your jam. This is your MO is like rural fucking.
Yeah.
Although what part of Alaska?
Anchorage, which is not rural.
Yeah, that's not rural. Yeah.
Yeah. But hopefully it'll go well. It was a pretty big promotion, and probably why it's a big promotion, because they desperately need someone.
They're like, we need somebody out here in the middle of BFE.
No, it should be pretty cool. I've already got my house picked out and everything, and I'm ready to get the fuck out of here, because I live in like BFE, Wyoming. Yeah,
so gonna go BFE, Arizona. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. From one BFE to the other BFE.
To the next.
Yep. But okay, so
are you in Flagstaff, Erica, or Phoenix?
I am in neither, but I'm closer to Phoenix. Yeah. Okay. So I just moved to Chandler, but I lived in Gilbert, which is either one is like 45 minutes outside of Phoenix. It's kind of like the more it's a suburbia. I'm out here.
Yeah.
I'm out here being a mom. Yeah.
So it sounds like you at least had a pretty badass weekend, that you actually got to get out and travel quite a bit, work on what we're going to get into in a little bit in the podcast about like what you do for a background. So any plans this weekend, or is it just like recovery?
This weekend is my daughter's birthday sleepover. So
fun.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have kids and crafts and pink and purple things everywhere. So I'm very.
How old is she gonna be?
She just turned 8 this week, actually, while I was in New York. So this weekend is like her whole party, and we're gonna have a ton of fun. But I'm typically gone. Like if I don't have my kids, that's usually when I'm doing trainings and traveling. So this is really nice when I get to be home and like enjoy like my living space. Like I'm gone a ton. So I'm excited to just fucking chill this weekend.
Well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What are your plans for this weekend, Rob?
Well, I've been doing nothing but like cleaning and getting my house ready for the movers that come in like 9 days, I think, or 10 days. This weekend, I'm probably going to take a break from that and head out to Casper to hang out with some friends and do a little bit of, I guess, partying and drinking and hanging out. And
you gonna do any hockey this weekend?
So I checked the schedule. There's no availability for ice time or practice. So no hockey. All my gear will stay clean. As some of the followers know, I basically cleaned all my gear for the rest of the season, because I'm about ready to pack it and send it to Arizona, because I won't need it again until when? I think like
November. Yeah, for
I'll probably
start
skating again in October, though, to get ready for that tournament in November. I play Wounded Warrior hockey, and I'm on a travel team, so like I go to a lot of places to play hockey, and it's the end of my season right now. So yeah, I thought I was going to be able to skate this weekend. It's not happening. It sounds like I'm just hanging out with friends, and I'm picking up a freezer and bringing it back. Yes,
that was so Wyoming of you to say. Like people that live in the middle of nowhere, like they all have like these extra freezers for like.
Yeah, I have 2. But that's just normal. That's just
What?
normal for people that like to have a lot of stock. You know?
Yeah.
Zero stock. Okay. You go to Trader Joe's in the city.
I don't have that here, or in the part of Arizona that I'm gonna live. I don't think we have it either.
That is
I'm
correct.
positive.
That is the real travesty, is that you don't have a Trader Joe's
I could
in
care
your
less
Grand
for Trader
Canyon.
Joe's. So
You don't know anything about life. Trader Joe's is amazing.
I think it's cool. I've been to one before, but like, it's one time. I
Just
think it
the
was in
one time.
Colorado. But yeah, so that's it. I think I'm gonna give Steph a break this weekend and not bother her for a weekend, because we got some upcoming plans in the next couple weeks. But yeah, and I'm gonna be living out there soon, so I'll be driving her fucking crazy. Either
which
living
is
with
easy
her.
for you to do.
Yeah, definitely. Poor Steph. All right. Well, she won't even listen to this, so I could either talk shit or say how much I adore her. We'll go with adore, just in case she does
Yeah,
listen.
go with that one.
Yeah, adore. I adore
I
you,
know-
baby. You're the best.
You know, so the last time you talked shit and said she wasn't going to listen, she did. So
It's happened a couple times. I think what it is we must have a mutual friend that listens to the podcast regularly and tips her off and be like, yo, Rob was an asshole about you on the podcast. And then all of a sudden we'll get like a screen capture of something that either Austin's saying or I'm saying that's terrible about her. And then she's like, oh, you didn't think I was listening. So she's got people watching me do this shit, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll go with
You're
that.
just
I
being
love
spied
you,
on. It's okay.
and you're the best, Steph. And I'll see you in a week or two. All right, let's get into other shit. So, next topic's gonna kind of hit a little bit hard, but it's definitely a topic that needs to be discussed because there's a lot of wild shit going on right now, and we're gonna get into some Afghanistan news. And I just want to lead off by saying, before we get too deep into this, I currently have some friends that are deployed there. I currently have some friends that I've known for over a decade that were my interpreters while I was in Afghanistan. And my heart and my sorrow and pain and love and happiness and like whatever I can throw at it, like, goes out to the families of the servicemen and women. I don't think it was actually any service women. The servicemen, it was 11,
13.
maybe it's a total of 13. It went up.
13 Marines.
13 Marines, one corpsman too. But also there was dozens of Afghan nationals that were hurt.
Yeah.
One of the interpreters that were trying to get out of the country right now got beat up by the Taliban last night. He luckily wasn't killed, but he's got all his papers. He's been trying to get out. I don't want to go into too much details on it because I have some really fucked up news on things that happened over there. But so far, we have one of our interpreters. They're back in the States. One of my friends who has an interpreter friend over there, he was able to get her out by using some powerful connections. And we're in the process of trying to get one of my other friends out. And it's been a really rough go. And, you know, I do not want to dare minimize the loss of human life. So I'm trying to think of the proper way to say this. But, you know, the events that took place today, and if you guys don't know what we're talking about, in case you're listening to this later, a week or two later, or maybe you are listening it to in the modern time, there was an attack today on Kabul Air Base. It was on the civilian side, and as of right now, there was 13 KIA from U.S. military and over multiple. I don't know the exact number of Afghan civilians, but it was more
I'm
than.
looking it up.
Yeah, and it's just.
Yeah, it says 60 for Afghan.
60. It's fucking devastating. It's sad, and like, you know, I think the hardest part about today is like, well, I was like in the process of working some like major back channels on getting this guy's visa information passed along to some authorities that are trying to help us out. You know, the attack fucking happened, And immediately, like, I didn't know how bad the attack was because they were saying that there might have been Americans that were injured and definitely Afghan casualties. And I was just thinking, like, fuck, like, we're not going to be able to get them out anytime soon. And then, as the day progressed, it just got worse because, you find out about the casualties. And,
Mhm.
and I think the hardest part has been like for the most part, I've been holding it together with all this shit.
Yeah, and me and Rob talked earlier, and I said, our companies are built for mental health and helping people. Just because we're not over there helping doesn't mean we can't help in other ways. And if anybody needs help, our companies are more than open to anybody reaching out, and just if you need help, reach out. I mean, because there's a lot of people who don't reach out, who try to keep it all together, and think that they can do it alone, and you can't. No matter what you're going through, you can't do it alone. So,
what feels like the most like so I don't do a lot of work with military. I'm just now starting to kind of branch over in terms of like doing my research.
right,
But hearing lots and lots of people talk about how it's like impacting or I'm hearing the words like it's triggering. What and this is coming from like a complete state of ignorance, so like
right.
walk me through it. But like, what is the thing that's what's the hardest thing about news like this for people like myself that aren't intimately attached
Right.
to this
Yeah.
and what's going on? You know what I mean?
So, and my girlfriend asks the same thing quite a bit because she wants to help and she doesn't know how to help, and she's seen me like break down in tears at least 3 times in the past like 2 or 3 weeks, and just like uncontrollable tears. And I think the hardest thing for guys like myself and those who served, or girls, anyone that served and has gone over there, it's just like you watch everything kind of falling apart, and you think back to all the memories you had out there and all the loss of human life. My dog's awake.
No,
and
you're fine.
It's just like one night, like I had like a panic attack over shit, and I called Austin, and like I don't remember a lot of what I was saying, but like one of the things I just kept remember repeating, I was like, wasn't even like, I don't even remember what I was exactly saying, but I was going down this like repeated thing of saying like it wasn't even worth it. Like, why did we go there? Why did we do this? And it's one of those things that like you sit back and you're like, I dedicated a certain portion of my life, and I was over there doing some pretty heavy stuff. Not so much in Afghanistan, more in Iraq. But you think back and you're like, was it even worth the time and the men and women that we lost over there while we were doing our shit? And I think it fucks us up a little bit. And then like today, the thing that like really got me, and like I was literally in tears before the podcast, and I told Austin like, I don't even know how I'm gonna fucking host tonight, is I've had at least 7 people reach out to me, and a couple of them I haven't talked to in probably like 4 or 5 years, but still follow me on social media and follow my company, and show support by liking things or commenting on things. But like I don't have very detailed conversations with them, but these are people that I've known for like 14 years or so. And like one of them wrote to me today just checking in, and she basically said that I know you're probably going through a rough time with all this. She's just like, I want you to know that I appreciate everything you've done for our country and everything that you continue to do to support our country and their veterans. And like just reading that like just crushed me, because like I don't feel like I do anything now, because I'm not a combat soldier. I'm not out there fucking hunting Taliban. I'm not out there like capturing these motherfuckers that are hurting our Americans. And I know I'm fucking rambling. It's just
So is it like a loss of control? Because like when you're out
Yes.
there, you have a little bit, like the control you have is that you have participation in like being a part of the solution, like you're actively doing something versus here you're invested in that, but you can't do anything.
I think that's part of it. I definitely think it's part of it. Like, I mean, like today, like one of the things Steph was saying was, she's like, I'm so sorry for what you're going through, but she's like, I'm gonna be completely honest. She's like, I'd rather you be here. And like in a way I get it, but like every
Yeah.
like ounce of my like soldier heart and brain is like, no, like I want to be there. I want to be on the fucking team that's trying to help my friend Zaid get out of there. Like I I miss that stuff. Like I miss being in like a tactical unit and actually going out and doing snatch and grabs or capturing high priority targets, eliminating high priority targets, like doing the shit that we used to do. And trying to keep terrorism over here versus the potential threat of it coming across that nation and or over to us. So I think it's a lot, and everyone has their own little piece of the pie that they did, whether it was support or it was direct combat actions. And then anyone that's still affiliated with the military is dealing with the fact that they're either getting deployed, they're going to deploy, or they have friends and family that are over there right now. So I think that's why like it's fucking up a lot of people and it hurts more than normal. And then we got September 11th, like the 20th anniversary,
Right.
like in the next like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of shit.
Yeah, and then like me and Rob were talking. He was saying like he may not be over there serving, and get help, but I was telling him, we help in other ways. There's other sides to this whole battle that we can help with instead of the whole, because like he said, there's plenty of people that are struggling right now, and them just knowing that they have a place to go that they can talk to somebody helps more than not, with just having an outreach. That's why veteran outreach programs are so helpful, because it gives people a place to go to where they don't feel burdened, like that they're they can actually talk to somebody who either A, knows what they're going through, or B, is just willing to listen to them without making them feel like a burden.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Both our companies normally have a strong foothold in the whole mental health community. And like I was telling Austin, man, it's hard to provide a service when you're kind of like falling apart too. And that's why like I fucking adore Austin and love him, because he helps out a lot. We have a couple other admins with Save Our Six, which is the company that I run, and they've been stepping up and like trying to handle some of my posts and like just trying to help get content out. And I think even we talked about not doing the podcast a couple times over the past few weeks, just because there's been a couple times that I've been really upset before we went on. And I think it's important like having these type of conversations, you know what I mean? Because like it helps our listeners, it helps the people that we bring on, and then hopefully that gets out there. And I'm actually excited to eventually get past the Afghanistan news and get into your backstory, because I know that you're doing a lot for law enforcement. And the cool thing about this show is the more people that listen to it, we usually find one person at least a week that'll reach out to us and be like, hey, like, that podcast actually meant a lot to me, because I was struggling with maybe body dysmorphia when we had on a guy who was obese and got super fit, or a police officer that we've had on before that's a single amputee, or I don't know, just like whoever we bring on, bring something interesting to that table that provides that sort of mental health outreach by having these little three-way conversations.
Yeah, I think like just being the I think that the solution to the stigmas that are out there in terms of like how open can I be, or like I'm afraid to be as honest about how I feel because there is like this like feeling of what will people think. I think that's just that's a natural response, I think, but given military or law enforcement culture, it's like even worse. And I think the solution to that is vulnerability, and like normalizing that it's okay to have a hard time with emotionally difficult things. Like I'm not sure exactly when it became like, everyday practice to say that you're fine, or to not feel what your body is literally wired to do. But
Right.
this is, I think, part of it is, if you have to cry, cry. Like, that's not all that is your body's way of like physically working through the emotions that you feel. Like, that releases so much physical and emotional tension from your body. So the fact that like your body feels that and you let yourself do it, that's the kind of stuff that we need to see more and more of, in order for people to recognize that it's not something weird. It's it's just a regular response from the body. So I think that it's admirable to talk about stuff that's uncomfortable, or to have awkward moments and things like that, because there's no way to, it's kind of like if you were to go to like a funeral wake, not the time for jokes, right? Like, there's no great way that you're going to feel in the midst of that type of thing. And this is the same thing. We lose soldiers overnight, and we've been processing through all of these people who have invested so much of their identity into this war, and now they're having to like reopen those wounds. I imagine it's taken a lot of people a lot of time and energy and commitment to try and work past all of the the things that arise when you go from being a soldier there to civilian life here, and like the big contrast. So to have to go through all of that, whether you did it well or not, and then to have everything kind of resurface, I imagine that's got to be really difficult for a lot of people. And I think that that makes sense why I'm hearing so many folks that are feeling triggered or like just having a rough time with it.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, the main thing, to get back what you were talking about, is, I mean, most people look at, cops or law enforcement, military, or anything as these big, macho guys, and so, there is a stigmatism there where, you're not allowed to cry, or you're not allowed to show emotions, and a lot of, law enforcement and military hold it in and wait till they get home when they're alone. And, unfortunately that ends in a bad situation, in a bad way, because, they either, because, military, veterans are when they're alone, they drink, you know, the veterans are more likely to drink, than anybody else, because they have so much, traumatic experiences. So when they're alone, that's the only way they know how to cope, is with alcohol or drugs or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Or a service dog like Rob has over there.
Well, part of the problem was because I started like hysterically crying. Was I woke her up. Part of her services are for seizures, and then because I've
Now she
had
wants to go outside.
3 traumatic brain injuries. I'm laughing at you, Austin, not the fact that I have multiple head traumas. Um, and then uh, and then the other thing is she's been trained to wake me up from nightmares. And like lately, in the past couple weeks, I've broken down in tears in front of her a couple times, and she hasn't really seen that side of me, like just hysterically crying for no reason. So it freaks her out, and she goes into like her mode where she normally wakes me up by climbing like on my chest and like laying down her front like legs on me, and then she'll start licking my face to wake me up. So she sees me like crying, and she's like, fuck's wrong with him? I need to go like lick him to wake him up or something, like he's having a bad dream. But I'm gonna let you guys bullshit for a second. I'm gonna go let her
let
out.
her out.
And yeah, you guys have fun without me for a sec.
Okay. So what do you think is the best way to get over that stigma, Erica?
Um, I mean, that's a really big question. I think honestly,
Or what are steps that you think we can take to help people get over that stigma?
yeah, I mean, I think that vulnerability is, I mean, I mentioned it. I think that that's going to be the thing that is the most useful, because from vulnerability comes solutions, because you're opening yourself up to other people knowing more than you, or, you know, just being able to know you, and the people around you have access to stuff. Or, I mean, you might not know that people around you have access to different resources. So maybe someone that you decide to talk to about how you're feeling has a really fantastic masseuse, or has a great physical therapist, or has a really great counselor or something like that, that's been able to help them through experiences. Or maybe they use some sort of like crisis line. You know, you just never know who knows what. So being able to be open with what your experience is like, I think that that's going to help break that stigma down, and enable you to reach out and like talk to people and like fix your shit. Like it's recognizing that what prevents you from getting the help that you need is fear.
Oh,
You
yeah.
kind of have to decide, like, am I going to be a person that lets fear like decide my life for me? Or am I going to be somebody that decides to sit in the driver's seat and like is able to admit that, hey, I'm a fucking human and things don't feel like they typically do. Okay,
Right.
what can I do to get help? Instead of sitting there and like being with it and nothing ever changing or not getting any help, like getting it done. Like, I don't know. That for me, that's what it comes down to. I'm not a very, it really comes down to resilience and like how much you want to, I mean, how much motivation that you have. And sometimes for some folks, that motivation can be really difficult to create in their bodies. And this is where medications can be really useful for people. I definitely think that that medications can be a useful short-term resource to help you experience different chemicals in your body that will enable you to feel more motivation or be able to see your problems from a very non from a perspective that's not as close as you might be to it. So I think there's a ton of ways that people can get past that stigma, but it really comes down to, do you want to sit with it, or do you want your experience to be different? Because the moment that you take a step towards talking to somebody and being vulnerable, or going to some type of professional, you're gonna find solutions and you're gonna feel better.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely being vulnerable. Like I said, having a community around you or people around you that you can talk to about any problems you have is huge. You know, it doesn't have to be, it can be anybody, just having that support network. Because you can't do it, like I said, no matter what you're going through, you can't do it alone. And that's where too many people, struggle with, is they think that they have to hold it all in and don't want to talk to anybody.
Or people just don't want to reach out in general. Like it goes back to something that you were saying, Erica, the whole entire stigma that you find in law enforcement and the military. It's built in with these almost like, and I think it's getting better a little bit in the military, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on the law enforcement side, but there used to be this built-in stigma that you cannot go to mental health for the things that we're experiencing. Like when I got back from my first deployment, which was probably the most violent thing a human should ever experience at like 20 years old, I basically was told to kind of like just be chill about it. There's certain things you saw over there that you didn't see, and just kind of like answer questions a certain way. They almost like groomed us for like what we needed to talk about, what we couldn't talk about. And I mean, just and then it goes into like tougher people than myself that like hold it in and don't get emotional over it. You're you're just thinking like, I can't like say anything about this because I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to lose rank. I'm going to lose position or I'm going to lose authority, or I'm going to get kicked out of the military. I'm going to get kicked out of law enforcement. I'm going to get kicked out of the fire service, whatever that service is that you provide. It's almost like up until recent, mental health has been like one of those things that like, hey, like toughen up, dude, toughen up, chick. Like you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's definitely that's still happening for sure. I got a DM last week. I posted something about using your EAP, and someone had said that their EAP said that they didn't want to hear anything about PTSD, right? So like that's still happening.
What's EAP before we go too far?
EAP is Employee Assistant Program. So within law enforcement, it's similar to what military folks have, like your medical benefits. So like having access.
Cool. I wasn't aware of what that meant.
Yeah. So larger insurance companies will have EAPs, and that's just packages that they buy for their employees. Like when you purchase insurance, you get like it's basically like a network. And so I was saying to use it. So there's that's still happening. That's still happening. Like I wish that it wasn't, but I mean, people, if you don't have trauma education and you don't understand how your body begins to isolate over time, like just as a natural response, like if you are still looking at your body as you're like negatively identifying with some of the things that you're feeling, it is ignorance, and not in like a rude sense, but just in a matter of fact way. You just have a lack of information on how the body works, which is what a lot of people in military and law enforcement, when in terms of when the cultures were being created, a lot of people thought that way because that was the education and science and information that we had then. It's just kept going, and it hasn't ceased, which is kind of the unfortunate part. But there's so much new information and new science now today about how brain injuries impact our experience, whether it's mild or traumatic. There's so much information about the correlation between isolation and stress and physical tension and stress. So there really is a multitude of stuff out there. It just comes like you need that awareness, and then you also just need to get over yourself. Not get over yourself. That's kind of rude to say. I tend to think of it in terms of like discipline. So like, I don't want to do the dishes, right? Let's take something as small as I don't want to do the dishes. I can create this mental hurdle for myself by building up how terrible I think it's going to be, or I can just do the thing. And it's being able to look at our mental health as what prevents me from getting it fixed is simply me building up in my brain how terrible it's going to be, but doing the actual steps won't be nearly as hard as what I'm imagining. I'm literally coming up with this stuff. So it's just recognizing that your brain wants to play a lot of tricks on you because they may be uncharted territories, and your brain doesn't want to do hard stuff. Your brain wants to cheat a lot.
Yeah. I mean, before we get too far, let's explain who you are, Erica, and what exactly you do and your backstory, and let's go from there.
That was like a really good thing that we were talking about.
I mean, it was, but we need to.
This is like mental health shit. This is like literally I'm gonna forget. Like my stupid little TBI brain's gonna forget, and this is like hot topic shit. We are doing her backstory, I promise. But like, there's a couple things that I wanted to like recognize that you addressed, and I think it's something that it's almost like the whole entire idea of working out too, whereas people, get, for lack of better words, either lazy or they just don't want to go do it because it's challenging. It's not something easy to do, and sometimes it takes discipline over motivation to accomplish those things, such as working out. And the brain is like one of the few things that we don't naturally know what to do with in the essence of working it out. So by getting some sort of therapy, or at least at minimum reaching out to a loved one, a friend, or exercising it through fitness, these are hurdles that, you know, the average person might not want to pursue, or someone who's being tough about, oh, I don't need to get a therapist, I don't need help, I can get through this.
Well, there's lots of ways. There's lots of ways that you can exercise your brain. And that's kind of my point, is that there's so much science out there now for ways that we can actually physically grow our brains, which is really, really interesting. And it all comes down to just trying new things. That's really all our brains need in order to grow bigger and to use more of it, is trying new things. So whether that's, hey, I'm going to spend the next week brushing my teeth with my left hand. You're going to feel an incredible amount of resistance in your body, because it is not easy, because your brain can't do it unconsciously. So like, you know how, so today I was brushing my teeth and I was thinking about it, how silly it was that I'm brushing my teeth, but I'm not paying attention to brushing my teeth. I am like going through this fucking like all these different scenarios about how my day is going to go, how I'm going to say or respond to like an email, whatever. And then all of a sudden I was like, I didn't even pay attention. I don't even know if I brushed my teeth. But that's what your brain wants to do, is it wants to do these like really easy things. It wants to take information, understand it better, create a behavior pattern that's based off of how you did and what to expect. And that's how it operates really fast. And so if we try new little things like brushing our teeth with our left hand for a week, your brain can't just do that without putting all of its like attention to it. So if you want to build up to do something big, like go to a counselor, try something small, like go an entire day without saying the word fuck, or
now you're
I
just
don't
being
know,
crazy.
tying your shoes a different way. There's
We
all
could do
different
shoes,
ways.
not fuck. Let's not.
Yeah, that's just too much.
That's
No.
too much.
So
I liked everything you said, Erica, up until this point.
Well, okay, so here's my plan, is that I'm going to invite my community and like my audience to do Sober October with me. And so here's what I want people to understand about, and this is something that I've learned myself, is being in a relationship with alcohol is just about practice. Everything that we do is simply practice. So if you're at a point where you recognize that you drink more alcohol than you want to, or you drink past the point where it's like, it's fun to drink maybe like 5 drinks, right? But if you're drinking like 10 drinks, you don't feel good the next day when you wake up. There's like a little bit of like, like guilty, maybe not even guilty, but just like, right? So it's understanding that you are just in the habit and practice of drinking on a consistent basis. So this is just breaking that pattern of behavior. It's not about withholding alcohol. It's going, hey, this is something that I do, that I've gotten in the habit of doing all the time. I don't think that it benefits me 100%. I want to spend a month like changing that pattern and really deciding what I want alcohol to look like, or my relationship with alcohol to look like. So I've gotten in the habit of taking a month off of like just being sober and going, okay, I'm just going to take a break from doing the same old, and figure out on a regular basis how I feel and think when I'm sober, and how I want my relationships with alcohol to look like. So there's lots of different things that you can choose. It doesn't have to be alcohol, but I think that alcohol is a great one because it impacts so many parts of our experience in a negative way. And like, I still drink. Like, it's not, I don't think that drinking is necessarily a bad thing, but it's important to know like what the effects of your coping skills, what they are. So I kind of rabbit trailed on that one, but
no, it's all
about
very good
habits.
points. And
Habits.
Sober October is like an awesome thing. Rogan does that like every year.
Have you ever done it?
I mean, I've taken a couple months off of drinking just intermittently. I'm debating on, I would potentially do it this year though. I'd be down.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's definitely hard. And that's kind of where I start to like, it feels super good. No, let me rephrase that. It feels really terrible in the moments when like my brain keeps thinking about drinking alcohol, or like I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just like go to bed because I'm thinking about it, whatever. That doesn't feel good. But then like the next day, it feels so good that I just conquered this thing, and it gives me more motivation and like kind of like resiliency to try it again. Like that's how I quit smoking cigarettes, was like not thinking about quitting forever. It was like, I am just going to not smoke in this specific craving that I'm having. Just this one.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, just one day at a time.
Not even one day, just this one
moment
right here. If I can get past this, then I'll deal with the rest of the shit later. So I think that if we start to understand our brains as more of like an equation, and we stop like negatively identifying with how it reacts to things, that's been my success in growing healthier in terms of like my brain health and my mental health. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of progress that we can make. And there's a lot of good shit out there.
That's awesome. How long have you not smoked for?
So I quit smoking. I don't even know. I don't even know. Like years. So many years. Yeah. So like
years.
I
okay,
smoking, had my son, and then I started like drinking and partying, and then I started smoking during that period. Quit. I haven't smoked since my daughter, and she's just turned 8. So
okay.
Yeah, long time.
Well, that's something to be damn proud of. It's quite an accomplishment.
I genuinely don't even feel or think about it as being an accomplishment, because in my brain, I've always tried to look at challenges as like almost something to like get off on. Like, I am just going to fucking focus on this so goddamn hard, and I'm just going to not smoke right now. And I feel the same way about like big challenges that I give myself, or even just building this company, is like, I am just going to fucking do this one thing. I don't know what the rest of everything is going to look like. I'm just going to do this one thing and see what happens. And so many cool things have come out of that mindset of like, this one thing in front of me I can do.
Yeah.
With that being said, maybe this is a part that we should inject.
Now
we should talk about it. Erica, tell us a little bit about your backstory. Keep in mind, not all of our followers follow your page yet. So like, tell us from ground up a little bit about like your company, a little bit about you. Go ahead. You have the floor. Anything you want to share?
Well, I got started in this industry and being exposed to police officers through a company that I still do sales for. I do their podcast on Thursdays. Ravencrest Tactical is an out the front knife company that I've worked for since. There you go.
Right
Look at that. Code Tacmobility, 25% off. Cool plug.
I have it on me all the time.
I love it. So I started working for them in 2013, and I would do sales at large conferences where they would have exhibitor days, and would just hang out and kick it. So like afterwards we would go drinking, and I would just meet and hang out with new people every time that I traveled. Like this last week, 2 different nights in a row hung out till the wee hours of the morning with people I had never met in my entire life. Ever. One group was from Minnesota, the other group was from New York, and we're best friends now. So I just was being exposed in this, and had this really unique exposure, I guess, to law enforcement. And I just became really close friends with them. And with time and trust, they started sharing a lot of stories about their personal experiences. Usually a lot of this was like alcohol induced. But I got to hear just a lot about where they're coming from and what's going on. And I am a civilian, and I'm also a yoga instructor, and my background is trauma education and breath work and understanding your body and your emotional experience. And so I'm like, oh my God, you guys just need to like meditate and shit. And they're like, no, we're not doing it. No, thank you. And so I wanted to create something that was accessible to my friends, that enabled them to understand themselves better without them feeling like they weren't being true to the type of people that they were, or, one of the big disconnects between military or first responders and kind of this wellness world is the wellness world thinks and imagines the world to be this really amazing place that's beautiful, and you spend a lot of time like imagining great things. But when you've been exposed in this very like real and saturated way with violence and evil, it becomes really difficult to see the world through that lens. So I spent 4 years interviewing my friends and just random officers that I'd find to better understand their experience. And then along the way, I watched a video of an officer involved with the shooting of an unarmed Black man. And that really, for the first time in my life, like felt very triggering. It's almost kind of like how you feel all of these resurfaced feelings about war. All of the feelings that I had had and in being like growing up, a lot of people made fun of me for my hair type or my body shape. Like I've never been like a thin person. I've always had a fit, muscular body. And so I've always been made fun of that. And I've always been taller and I'm very assertive. So I've always felt like an outsider and experienced a lot of racism and being called a lot of names and being excluded for like just very obvious, like, no, we don't like you, or being called niglet, and it's just really painful stuff. So when I saw this shooting, it wasn't my first exposure to this type of scenario of an officer and a Black male, but it was the first time that like these uncontrollable emotions came up, and I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, why is this an issue for me now? Like, this has never been a thing. And so I started just wondering out loud to my friends, like, hey, why can't you shoot people in the leg? Like, why can't, like, all the questions you guys hear, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, and now that I've actually like done shooting, I'm like, well, that requires a lot of practice and training.
Right.
I can't even memorize what MOA means. God damn it!
I know. We talked about that on the Ravencrest Tactical Live.
It means
it's minutes of angle.
I fucking got it. Minutes of angle.
Correct.
I don't know what it's for, but I know that it's minutes of angle. So I'm just wanting to know, because at the end of the day, I am a civilian. Like, I do still see the world as like a happy place where, people are generally trying to be good people and like do good things for the world, right? Like, you're smiling, but like, this is how I think of the world. And like, everyone is just out to do their best, and like, people just want to do good things, and like, my day is going to be abundant, and people are going to like, one of my like favorite things that I say like almost every day is I give and receive love. Okay. So like, that's how I experience the world. So I'm going, hey, what's going on with this stuff? Like, help me understand. And everyone was just like, this was a bad shoot. Like, this wasn't really good. Like, this was not good. And that really challenged me, because for the first time, my friends were admitting that this was not a good shoot, but the way that the media portrays police then and still today was just very contradictory to my personal experience. So from that point, I was continuing to do interviews while I ended up doing a training simulation, where it's like a virtual simulation. Right. And it's like this responsive screen where you wear like this little battery pack that will like shock your body if you get shot in the scenario that you're in. And I had this really intense physiological response when I was done with it that I wasn't anticipating, which from that information that I had, I recognized that, one, I'm dealing with a stigma. People are telling me that everything is fine, that there's no physical or traumatic experience involved with it, that it's very black and white. And I was like, okay, so now I have information on what that experience is really like. I wonder if maybe that's playing a role in some of the disconnect between communities of color and police. Is I wonder if there's this whole physical and stress experience that communities of color just don't understand. I wonder if when we see officers making poor decisions in shoot or no shoot scenarios, really is trauma taking the driver's seat. I wonder. So I decided to create a program to help them identify that stuff.
And with that program, first, can you at yourself your Instagram handle for us?
Yeah, at Tacmobility, which is TACMOBILITY, Tacmobility, like tactical mobility.
And when you're talking about mobility, are you talking about the essence of like mobility training? Like
I am
actual
talking about the ability to move your joints
Mhm.
and your body freely.
And is a lot of that through yoga or like CrossFit mobility like training where you're like stretching out your muscles, your shoulders, your back, your legs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my training is coming from a yoga perspective, but we're not doing yoga in the sense that yoga is a bunch of stretches that are all sequenced together. And this is going, what on your body specifically hurts? Or what stress pattern do you have in your body? Are your shoulders all the way up to there all the time? So it's being able to recognize what in your body hurts. How do we stretch that area and to create a little bit more space in your muscles? And then also, it's not that you stop there because that's addressing the symptom. It's understanding that your mind and your body are intricately connected. One thing reacts and makes the other do something. So yes, I can tell you all day long to stop doing this and you can drop your shoulders, but if you're not aware of what's happening in your brain, what you're thinking about when your shoulders are going up here, right? It's going to keep this cycle of like stress and tension going.
Right, because the mind and muscle connection is huge. I mean, like you said, with your shoulders, I mean, you may be subconsciously doing that, but you're doing it for a reason, and you gotta figure out why you're doing it in order to get over it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your brain, when it receives information that says that it's under threat, it is sending information like that information travels through your fascial system, which your fascia, you may have heard that word before. You can kind of think of it as like sausage casing. It's the casing for your muscles, and it's this complete bodysuit that's underneath your skin, and it collects and communicates information from your nervous system. So if you're constantly under threat, you're constantly hypervigilant, your fascial system is constantly sending communications to every part because everything is connected, right? Like this part in my forehead has the ability to transmit information to my fingers. So everything communicates with itself. So you have to be able to identify what's happening in your brain health and how that's impacting your body's health.
Yeah, I mean, because stress is a huge factor for just overall health.
Oh, stress is really terrible for your body. Every stressful thought that you have gradually breaks down your cells. Literally every single thought is associated with a chemical. So every negative or survivalistic thought that you create will begin to deteriorate your body. So it won't be long before you experience things like respiratory disease or heart problems or stomach problems or just chronic tension, migraines, insomnia. It all just starts to add up because your body's function, they all depend on each other to be working well. So if one thing is out of whack, like your brain, it messes things up. And you know this from having a brain injury. Like that's part of the issue is the information going from here to the rest of the body is out of whack. And so you have these weird symptoms associated with traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the essence of how you're taking not only like physical fitness or I guess maybe it's not necessarily physical fitness, but you're looking at the aspect of like healing your body, stretching your body, but you're also trying to incorporate it into mental health as well.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about this is I didn't know about you until today that much, and I'm definitely going to be following you both myself and my company, because as you're talking, I'm just like, holy fuck, like
You're
this
like, that's
all
me.
this all relates. Like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, I
And
needed
that's
this
one of the
woman,
reasons-
like I needed her like a year or two ago. Where the fuck has she been?
And that's
And
one of the
that's-
reasons I wanted to bring her on, is because
I'm like, is she talking about me right now? Because like I feel like I
and
can
that's
learn
the
some
thing.
shit.
Like, you're
Yeah.
not special.
Yeah. Like
Like
there's
you're not anyone special. I don't know you. You and I have never talked, right? But
Yeah.
all of this resonates. Like this, and these are all symptoms that resonate in my body. Like as an entrepreneur, like my stomach and my digestive system is so fucked up from like being stressed out and going like, oh my God, I'm failing this week. Like, oh my God, this is the most amazing. Oh my God, I'm going bankrupt. Oh my God. Like just this constant influx of emotions. It impacts your physical body. So this is what I meant when I said people have this ignorance, not in a negative way. You're not lazy. This is your body just lacking information and understanding about how your organism works. And so my freedom and my success that I experience and that I've witnessed thousands of other people experience comes down to, once you know the information, you can begin to look at your situation as more of an equation, like versus this is a sentence, I'm always going to feel like this, things are never going to change. And that feeds into this isolation cycle, this depression cycle, this insomnia cycle, this self-harm, this self-destruction. Like, so it's a little bit of information that may seem hard to learn at first will help you understand the bigger picture of what's going on. And that's where like change fucking happens.
So if someone comes to your page, are they generally getting information on upcoming like seminars or classes that you're doing, or is it something that someone reaches out and sets up like client services for? Just could you elaborate on the business side of your company?
Yeah. I'm located in Arizona, in Gilbert, Arizona, and I have an office here. So I do confidential one-on-one services with first responders. So generally what that looks like is if you're experiencing a difficult time managing your stress symptoms, and most people who are first responders in the military are, when you and I meet, it's just about we're just going to go and identify what's going on. And then we develop coping skills that help you get through your stress symptoms, kind of like those cravings. Like this is how you get through a craving. This is how you get through a stressful emotion. So there's one-on-one services that we offer. I do trigger release therapy. So we talked about the fascial system and how everything is connected. Well, I manually go into the body and I help circulate the blood. I help move stress patterns that are in the body, relieve physical tension. Or if you want more of a Tacmobility like training experience, which is totally preferred, your department can come out or have me out, and I'll bring the 4-hour course training to the department, or we do it virtually as well. But if you go over to the social media, that's kind of our way of
Bring up her page, Austin, please.
So if you go to our page, you'll see this constant exposure to trauma education, because when you're in the military or a first responder, your training is so centralized to like one part of the year typically, or it's sort of like sporadic, but in a way where you won't remember what you learned 4 months down the road, right? So my intention with the social media is to remind you what hypervigilance looks like. I post lots of stretches that you can do. I post training dates that are available. Every Sunday, I hop on Instagram Live and I do 15 minutes of stretch requests from the previous week. This is great. We have a lot of data. So I mentioned earlier interviewing officers. I have an anonymous survey that you can access if you're law enforcement, and you can give me the nitty gritty of what your experience looks like. And the way that I help advocate for you is to publish those statistics. So you'll see a lot of that stuff on there. Oh my gosh, and all the giveaways.
Hey, Austin, click on a couple of those posts, like some of the facts and percentages and stuff like that, just so our viewers can see it. Can you read it? It's blurry on my end because I'm using.
So it's 60% of U.S. officers report outbursts of anger. This is part of understanding what stress symptoms look like, because if you don't know that these are regular actions of the body when it's under stress, then you might start to think that you're an asshole, or the person that you're in a relationship with can be like, God, you're such an asshole, and start to think that like you really think negatively of them, or you don't want to be in the relationship, right? Rather than my body is physically stressed out and this is what happens.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I love this one.
Yeah, this is a good one. I mean, it says resiliency is a mindset. You have to spend time believing in yourself. You have to spend time loving who the fuck you are.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like self-love is typically coming, again, this is the disconnect. It's typically coming from this wellness side of like, you have to like take baths, like, and like, I mean, I do that shit. Like I hug myself this morning. I kissed both of my arms and I was like, I love you. Right. So that doesn't resonate with a ton of people that are in the military and first responder world. It's like, no, but really it comes down to, you have a responsibility and a privilege to love the fucking body that you have, because it houses like your purpose and your soul, which is like your life force. So if you don't take care of it, and that can just look like, I love my body, so I'm going to drink a fucking green juice every other day because my body needs fucking nutrients to survive. Right. So we have to change how we look at what self-love is. It's just loving your organism.
Yeah. And I think this is a real good one too. Rest. Rest is one of the most important things you can do for not just your mental health, but recovery in general.
Yeah. We need to not be
read that one for us.
It says rest is a part of resiliency. You're a human, not a robot. You have to take care of your body. It has a breaking point.
Excellent. Yeah. As a prior personal trainer, that's like one of the biggest things I used to harp on my clients is that, like everyone's like, oh, it's all about what I'm putting in my body and, the fitness aspect. I'm like, no, like you need to break that down into thirds. And I've said it before on the podcast, the way I've always looked at, like for, whether you're trying to lose weight, gain weight, shape muscle, whatever, you need about 30% of that done through. Wait, what?
He's talking about shake weights over here?
Shake weights. Yeah, shake weights. I did not say shake weights, but if you're trying to make weight is what I said.
Oh.
Okay, make weight. I was like, when the fuck did I say shake weight?
Shake weights, make weight.
At least we brought some comedy back into this because everything was very serious. No, but it goes into a percentage of what your nutrition is, what your workout is, but there's also, most importantly, is what your rest plan is. And, recovering those muscle fibers. That way you're actually able to get after it in a couple of days, or, give your body adequate time to recover. Whether that's, I guess, mentally on your end from like the stuff that you're trying to preach along with the physical aspect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, your brain health and what you're thinking about is directly connected to your physical experience. So if you're practicing hypervigilance non-fucking stop, and this is how a lot of folks that are in the military community, you still experience those same feelings of like being on the lookout, right? So if you're practicing that hypervigilance and you're never giving your brain and your body a rest from the chemicals associated with hypervigilance, or just having distracted thoughts because you're always thinking, then your body isn't getting the rest that it needs. It's not getting happy hormones. And so physical recovery is just as important as like reminding yourself, I'm not going to think about work today. And like maybe having to tell yourself that 20 times a day, or I'm not going to think about danger being around the corner right now, even though that's what I want to feel. So yeah, I mean, it's all connected.
Oh, that's outstanding information. Like I think this podcast is going to resonate with a lot of people. I'm like flabbergasted a lot of the things that you're saying, and like as you're talking, I'm like, fuck, I have so many questions. Like, just because it's all like I'm not to be egotistical, even though some people think I am. I'm in good shape. Like I do well on my fitness, and I've never had too much of a problem maintaining a certain weight, maintaining a certain muscle size. I mean, you saw me flex earlier when you asked if I was military.
You did. Oh my God, you fucking did.
So all right. So people that don't know this, we're doing our like backstage like conversation with Erica and everything. And I'm off like looking up an ATI answer to the internet question, and I forget the camera's on me. And we're all talking, and at one point Erica's like, you were both military. And I literally at the same time was pulling this back, but my arm was like this. She's
no,
like,
it was out. It was fucking went like that. And I was like,
so she's like, you literally just flexed on it. I'm like, I swear to God, it was not intentional. Like I was just trying to pull back the sleeve.
I'm egotistical.
So
yes, it's okay.
Somewhat, a little bit. But no, like I just think it's awesome that you're bringing out information. I think more on the mental side, and then trying to think of a way to. I'll just say it. Like you look like you're in great shape yourself. So like it's cool to see someone that actually is trying to help both with mental and physical. Whereas when I sit in counseling appointments with the VA and shit, like I look at the person who's talking to me and they want to tell me about like physical health and mental health. And I'm like, but do you really know? Like you might understand this mental aspect.
When was
the
last time you got up?
Okay.
When was the last?
So, but let me kind of throw you a curveball. I don't work out. Like I teach a yoga class on 1 day a week, and it is
hard as fuck.
No.
Are you kidding me?
There are multiple types of yoga, and the type of yoga that I do is called yin, and it's maybe 8 different poses we do the entire class, and we're holding the stretch. So we could have like wide legs, and we're holding that for 5 minutes. So we're not doing any cardio. We don't even get off the floor. Like we're literally on the ground the entire time, just doing deep stretches. So everyone's body is different. So like you can look at me and you can think that I'm this fit person, but like I worked out maybe twice or 3 times in August. I swear to God.
Are you lying to us right now?
No, but that's the thing is, and this is the thing that I got made fun of for as a kid is I have a muscular physique, but these are genetics. I'm not doing anything for it. So you can look however you want on the outside. And my focus isn't fitness. My focus is movement, because your movement decreases along with your mental health. You don't have the same motivation or access to those hormones that make you get up and want to work out when you are in a state of poor mental health. So being able to physically jump up, like studies show that you're you live longer if you're able to jump up with your knees. So it's all about going. Movement impacts so much. I don't give a fuck if you're doing cardio. I don't care if you're lifting weights. I don't. You need to be moving your body, and you need to be taking care of your brain health. Like that's the shit that matters. Your hormones, like what does your testosterone look like? There's all you know what I'm saying? Like there's lots of different, there's other ways to measure somebody's health other than fitness, in my opinion.
Have you, do you follow or have you heard of Knees Over Toes guy?
Knees Over Toes? I don't think so.
Knees Over Toes guy. He's like super famous through Joe Rogan. And he does a lot of things with mobility and flexibility and doing movements that help with preventative injuries in like knees by like having more mobility, more flexibility in certain movements and certain ways that you can like pick up weights or you can do certain stretches. Are you looking him up, Austin, or no?
No. Do you want me to?
What? Yeah, sure. But I think it would be an interesting page. Like I'll DM you some of his stuff and see
send it to
if
me.
any of his stuff could be used for like the classes that you're teaching. And on the topics that you were just covering, like I still think it's really interesting. Actually, I do have one question for you. So someone with like an IT band injury, like like right below the hip, what would be like one good piece of advice that you could give that person towards like loosening it up if they're trying to compete in like an athletic sport or something like that?
If someone has an injury, the first thing that I recommend is go to a fucking doctor. Go to a chiropractor. Go to physical therapy. Literally go to a professional. And these things aren't as expensive as they used to be, which I think is also like this misconception people have. It's like a $40 visit, but you can go and you can find out like what all is going on. Like they have somebody do some movement tests on you to see if we can identify what's going on first before we just start fucking stretching, whatever. If that's not the route that you want to go, I mean, there's lots of IT stretches you can do. I found a lot of success with using foam rollers for IT bands. Like there's some different techniques that you can use. So like most people just kind of get on their side. Yeah. Well, most people just kind of like get on their side, but if you don't have somebody walking you through how to relax something or how to add bending, like a bending motion to your knee or pointing your toes. So going to a physical therapist is so beneficial. Like it really, really is beneficial. Or seeing or doing myofascial release. That's a big thing too, is getting a professional to go in there and like check out what's going on. That's my advice.
All right. With that being said, because it was a military injury, I've been getting seen for years for it. And I would say that it's more or less it's tension within the IT band. It's not necessarily an injury as much. It's not that it's injured where it's inadequate and it doesn't work. It's just like I've tried acupuncture and that gives a little bit of relief. I've tried being readjusted by chiropractors. That helps a little bit. I've done massage therapy that helps a little bit. But I guess ultimately on a personal level, just for the fact that I'm into fitness and I'm in the gym, 4-5 times a week, I wouldn't mind knowing a couple exercises. And I can DM you later and ask you these questions, just like a couple stretches to loosen it up. That way.
Loosening is really good. And then also some muscles need to be strengthened. Like we typically think about muscles being like shortened and not being an issue, but sometimes our like fascial tissues, remember we were talking about that bodysuit, it can shorten some muscles, which can lengthen other muscles and make those longer muscles weaker. It can transfer weight to a different area in your body to compensate. An area in your body that isn't built to carry that weight or to perform that function. So sometimes strengthening the muscles or the area that is the issue for you can be the solution. Every body is different, and there's kind of like a trial process. Like that's one of the things too, is as much as we know about bodies, it's a lot of trial and error. Did that work? Did that not work? How did that affect me? So I mean, it's kind of a journey, but maybe strengthening it might be another solution.
I mean, that's an approach that I haven't taken yet. So I would actually be more interested in that than the typical like acupuncture or massage that only gives it relief for a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Look at that.
See, we're figuring out shit. We're helping out our listeners and like we're
helping out
Rob, egotistical Rob. No, is there anything else that you want to talk about your company? Do you have any upcoming events? Is there anything that you have planned for travel or like lay it on us? Tell us a little bit more.
I am doing a campaign right now. I want to go to Police Week. I was saying it today in the podcast.
Isn't that in May?
It typically is in May, but this year it was rescheduled. So it's in October this year.
Okay.
And my vision for that is to have a booth there where I can provide free services to anybody that comes up to the booth. So we'll have We'll have a bunch of like pre-made kind of, we call them calm as fuck kits, and it'll have
Love the name. Love the
calm as
name.
fuck. That's like our brand. Like we calm as fuck around here.
Oh my
And so it's a bunch of like free resources that we'll give to officers with lacrosse balls, which is my preferred method of myofascial release, and just a bunch of different supplements, things like that we can give away. But I'm also going to bring out my massage table for that so I can do the myofascial release. So we'll be there for emotional support as officers lay their brothers and sisters to sleep from the past year, or to rest from the past year, but also to offer some physical recovery and just exposure to what stress symptoms look like, so that people can walk away from our booth going like, oh my God, the same reaction that you just had where you were like, that was kind of mind blowing to hear that information. A lot of that resonates. That's our goal, is to go to Police Week and bring that to 25,000 police officers. So we are doing a campaign right now to fundraise for it. Our goal is $12,000 in order to make this whole thing happen. So we have a GoFundMe up. We're doing some, I have an EOTech site that we're raffling, some other cool shit that we're raffling. So if you want to support officer wellness and do me a solid and support me and get me there, that's a great way that you can participate in what I'm up to next. But you can also check out my training page at tacmobility.org/tacmobility course or /training, and you can get lots of information on upcoming trainings.
Is a lot of that info too in your like Instagram bio?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Check us
Yeah.
out on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the things.
Did you just say LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is like where you get contracts out, bro.
I mean, like probably, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the missing ingredient for Saver 6. I need to get on
Instagram
LinkedIn.
is cool, but like LinkedIn is more about like networking and
it's
no,
more of
it
a
makes
business
sense.
aspect.
yeah.
And if you would like, I would love to get some of your information out to Save Our Six through our company. So we'll definitely have to talk through DMs sometime after this. And if there's any posts that you want us to share, if there's anything that you want us to actually to post to our site, because we have a pretty good community. And we even do a thing usually every couple Fridays. We'll do a Fall It Friday, where we're out there like promoting other companies that Save Our Six believes in, or Vigilant and Humble believes in. So we'll definitely have to get you some cross promotions. I definitely can through my company, which is smaller than Austin's, and then typically
I'm tiny.
whatever
I know what you're talking about.
Typically whatever I do or ask Austin to do, since he's my heterosexual life mate, he'll end up doing it for me. So
well, like I mentioned, I'm branching out to military. So I just started doing the same amount of the same research that I put into law enforcement to build this program. I'll do the same research for military to create the military resilience program. So I am in the process of building the military anonymous stress survey. And again, I just want to hear about your guys' experience so that I can create something that makes sense for you.
Yeah, talk to me
that's
offline if you want some good info. And our brand too for Save Our Six, it supports military, all 911 services and medical services, both past and present. So law enforcement definitely falls, and first responders fall into what our company does. But I don't have the same type of knowledge that you have, even as a civilian, because you've actually been working with it. Whereas I just have a lot of friends that got out of the military that went into law enforcement that share our stuff, and it pushes us a little bit further into the law enforcement community. And we would love to help out any of your people too.
Thank you.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Definitely very, very good guess.
Thanks for having me.
And say Rob might have actually learned something this time.
Yeah, maybe I'll retain it. Yeah,
you'll probably forget it all tomorrow.
No, but then I go and re-listen. I always listen to the podcast at least once because I want to make sure that the audio synced up correctly. And then it blows my mind a little bit because I'm like, oh my God, we did talk about that. Or that was something I didn't even hear in the podcast because memorization skills kind of suck.
He just doesn't listen.
No, I listen. It depends who's talking. I have to be interested.
So do we want to go into the next thing that we were discussing the other day, Rob?
I think we can, as long as Erica is done with her backstory on her company, because like you are a wealth of knowledge and incredible information that you have put out on this podcast. And the last thing I want to do is short you if there's anything else you want to talk about.
I feel like we totally covered it. I'm glad.
All right, we're gonna get into the next topic then.
Okay.
These right here. What are these, Austin?
Nicotine pouches.
Why do I have nicotine pouches? What happened yesterday on a walk?
Well,
I'm gonna throw one in right now because I'm not embarrassed anymore about this.
And so you're the one that actually heard about it on a podcast.
All right,
so you want to?
I'll tell the story. So yesterday, for about since the 75 hard, which both of us did a while ago. I've only made it like 48 or 50 days or something like that. Austin actually completed it. I wasn't allowed to drink. I wasn't allowed to do anything really fun. And I was working out so much. So I accidentally tried these coffee pouch nicotine pouches. And yeah, like they slid in my mouth accidentally. Like that sounds terrible. Anyways, I got addicted. Like I like them a lot. And I've been slowly but surely trying to like wean my way out of it and or just not do it. But every time I go to the store, they'll literally sell me. They normally cost like $3.45 per like little can thing. They have a deal right now where it's 3 for $3. I'm like, oh my God, that's so fucking cheap. But it's all part of their mass program of trying to get people to take them. Here's where it gets interesting. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, Joe Rogan, and he had on which Schaub is it? I can't think of his first name.
Brendan Schaub.
Brandon Schaub? Are we sure?
Yeah. Yes.
Former UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Anyways, and it might not even been Rogan. Either way, Brendan Schaub was on a podcast, and he was talking about how he recently quit drinking, but he started doing nicotine pouches. And the reason why was for health reasons. And everyone on the podcast is like, oh, this was on Andrew Schultz's podcast. And everyone's like, okay, bullshit, dude. Nicotine's like bad for you or whatever. And he's like, no. He's like, I seriously did research on this. And nicotine activation within your brain actually stimulates neurons that people suffer from traumatic brain injuries or CTE. So it gives you like a boost. Like the fact that I just put one in, like I feel a little bit more animated. I feel a little bit more focused on the conversation. It's an upper. It's definitely an upper. But he was saying that he was reading that there's actual health benefits for CTE patients and TBI patients. So I'm like thinking like, this might be bullshit. And I need to either quit the shit or I need to have an excuse of why I'm continuing to do it. So I called Austin while I'm walking alley yesterday. And Austin searched it for like 30 minutes with me and brought up different articles. And go ahead, Austin. What did you discover?
I mean, I found the same thing that he was talking about. I mean, because it's not because most people think of, nicotine is bad, but it's not the nicotine in the cigarettes that's bad for you. It's the tar and all the chemicals in the cigarettes that's bad for you, that gives you cancer.
There's no cancerous material in it.
No.
Well, I mean, in all like moderation, like you wouldn't drink
what is that?
10 cups of coffee a day, so don't have 10 cigarettes.
Wait.
No.
What?
Oh my God.
What?
Dude,
I drink like 12.
Oh my God. Well, like, I mean, it's addictive, right? So like, you're going to take a bunch of it. So like, could you practice self-control and incorporate nicotine 4 times into your week? Or could you skip a day? You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that stuff is, we're prone to stimulation. Like,
absolutely.
We don't want to be, it's not like the human condition to be like sober. Like, so whether that's caffeine or alcohol or sex or whatever, we look for stuff to stimulate our body. So I don't think it's bad, but like, if you're going through a ton of them, it's like,
no, not like a ton
isn't
of
bad,
them. Like,
but if you fucking eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, you're fucking
What
intestines
about
are gonna be-
breakfast and dinner? Is that okay? Or is that
Are
pushing
there lots of other minerals that your body is taking in? Because if not, that might be an issue.
Yeah, no, I'm
I mean, I'm not supposed to have like 5 energy drinks a day.
No.
damn it, Austin. And you're not supposed to eat gummy bears all day.
Hey, the Sour Patch Kids, okay?
Whatever, you know what I'm talking
Rips.
about.
Rips.
Moderation
Yeah,
is key.
nuh-uh. Sour Patch Kids are better than Rips.
No, they're fucking
Telling
not.
you.
100%.
Yo, rips are the shit.
That's right. He fucking said that Sour Patch Kids are better. No, because Sour Patch doesn't have as much sour on it, and you get to the sweet too fast. Mm-mm.
I concur with this. I
Each
didn't
their own.
realize this until now.
Yep.
Yep. I might after last episode, we got on a topic of like gushers or something like that.
Oh
Literally,
my God.
we were talking about like nostalgia in our like answer to internet questions. We were talking about nostalgic memories from like childhood, like packing your lunch or whatever. And gushers got brought up. I literally left the podcast and immediately went to Walgreens, got gushers, took a picture of them, and sent it to people that were in the podcast that night.
Was it as satisfying?
Yeah. I mean, I consumed the 4 packs of them in like 3 days.
I like was always so jealous when they first came out because my mom wouldn't buy it. She always bought like all natural shit, and so she wouldn't. And I was just like, "Oh, fucking commercials!" And I remember the first time I ate it. Like I have a memory feeling in my mouth right now of like how it doesn't gush out like the commercial.
Yeah,
said.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
It was an ooze, and not as much as you thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Okay.
yeah, that's
Well,
my little segment
before you
on
fall asleep
nicotine.
over there, Erica.
Yeah, this is like we're pushing into
It's
her
7:43.
bedtime.
I know.
Like,
we're gonna get into the end of
like-
this, so
Yeah.
we're gonna go into the answer the internet questions. So we're gonna ask Erica some questions and see how she responds. Are you ready for
Austin,
this,
I'm
Erica?
gonna kill you. Okay, you didn't delete
It's
them.
right there.
Thank God.
Are you ready?
All
Are you ready for this, Erica?
I'm ready.
Okay. Would you rather have a child every year for 20 years or never have any children at all?
Never have any children at all.
Yeah, me too. I don't know why Rob put this question on there because it's easy.
I have 2 kids also, so that kind of makes me feel like a terrible
I
parent,
know,
but
like that's what
100% makes me
confused me because
Why 20 kids?
I don't have kids. My girlfriend has 2 kids, and I seriously love them as if I want to be their dad one day. And I definitely want to have kids with her. So it's one of those things that like I want to have
nobody
kids
wants
still.
20
So
kids.
People savage.
no, it's not 20 kids. It's just every 20 years. Like I figure like I
It
have
says
like
every
maybe
year for 20 years. That means
Yeah,
20
every
kids.
year. So like you have 20
Oh,
fucking
fuck.
dude.
Yeah.
No,
Who wants 20
this is
kids,
a terrible
Rob?
question. I guess I'm not having kids, man.
Yeah, who wants 20
Please
kids?
don't listen to this
I
part.
mean,
Too late.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Yeah, I misread that question. I thought it was
Autorize
like
that
every
shit.
20
Nope.
years you have 1 kid.
no. It's like, who wants
No.
20 kids?
That's terrible.
Lots of people.
No.
Several
Goes with the
folks in the
brain
Mormon
damage.
community want
Mm-mm.
multiple babies, but that one chick, 19 and counting.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
that's way too many.
Mm-mm.
All right, here we go. Next question. Would you rather be gassy on your first date or your wedding?
I'm gonna go with wedding because I don't plan on having another one, and I don't fart in front of my boyfriend. So
No?
no, we do not. We
How
do
about you,
not fart
Austin?
for each other.
I'm gonna go with wedding because I'd rather go wedding because at least they already know. If you've been with them long enough, they know you're.
Okay, hang on. So I want to go back to what Erica just said. How long have you been with your boyfriend that you're not at all gassy or like I guess that's not the best way to describe it.
Almost 3 years.
Oh my God.
And
Like
he's
he's never
a
heard
cop,
you
right?
seen or heard you fart or anything like
He's
that?
heard me fart before, but not like I don't just do it. Like if I do
no, I mean that would be
fart,
kind of fucking weird.
yeah.
and-
If I do have to fart, I tell him to like plug his ears
Oh
and
my
then I'll fart.
What?
Plug your ears, cover your nose, honey.
I do no. Usually my farts don't smell. Like I have
Of
to have,
course,
like
of course. No
something
women's
really
fart
weird.
smell.
No,
Yeah.
like genuine. Like if my farts smell, then like I put something in my body that I should fucking not have, and now I'm like dealing with the consequences. But no, we were both married and did shit like that. Like no. Nope.
You're not about that life anymore?
Not about that life. I want to though. Sometimes like my stomach hurts and I want to just like super like I call them tubes. I wanted to, but I won't.
No.
I'm gonna go with first date because I feel like I can just hide from that girl a little bit. Like I can just like somehow play it off, especially if it's in a public environment. So I'm gonna go with first date because
Unless it's super loud, then you're screwed.
then what?
Unless it's super loud, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Okay. Next question, Austin. You got it.
Okay. Would you rather hunt and butcher your own meat or never eat meat again?
No. How many times am I gonna have to butcher this meat?
Anytime you want meat.
No, I mean like you could kill like an elk or a moose or something like that.
Yeah.
I've never processed a fucking animal. Like I would be in tears. I know this about my little liberal snowflakey heart. I would
Oh my
not.
god.
100% that shit would traumatize the fuck out of me. I remember like gutting fish when I was younger. Like I have vivid memories of like my dad being like, "Oh look, this one was pregnant." I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like, no.
Yeah, see, as someone who does this every year, like multiple times a year, I have no issues with this.
Like I no. Nope.
No issues. I
grew
up in it, so.
See, here's what's a little crazy about me, Erica. Like I'm trying to think of the politically correct way to say this. I have hunted two-legged varmint a lot.
Yeah.
Insurgents. Like I've hunted people. And had to end their lives. I didn't have to harvest them afterwards, which was nice.
I hope
Right,
not.
so I feel like there's a fucking clear ass difference between taking
that's
the
what
skin off the
we need to do, Rob.
person
We just need to go to
and
Afghanistan,
deer.
hunt down some Taliban, and then we have to, butcher them afterwards. We have to cut out their,
Right.
Fuck no. Anyways, I have recently just got into the whole hunting world, and I still haven't actually killed an animal besides a fish. But I recently went last September and helped my friend harvest something that he ethically hunted, I guess is the best way to say it. So I'm getting into that aspect, and I think it's definitely an interesting way to collect, not collect is the best word to say, but to, I guess, harvest or get meat for your family. So I'm interested in it. I would probably do that versus never.
Yeah.
And then Austin, it's obvious for you because you are a hunter.
I've grew up in it. That's what my family does. So.
I just wanted to see what what our guest was going to say.
I
love that you said that. That's fucking hilarious.
Totally fine.
All right. Would you rather live in a treehouse or a cave?
A treehouse.
Hell yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna go treehouse.
Not shave my legs forever. Fuck yeah.
I'm going with a treehouse too. You could build the shit out of a treehouse. I think a treehouse is bad.
It'd be like Swiss Family Robinson.
Dude, I've looked up so many treehouses on Airbnb, and if it weren't for the fact that like half of them are like $400 a night.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all on tree houses.
Yeah, next one. Would you rather be on Survivor or The Bachelor?
A fucking Survivor. I won $1 million. I don't give a fuck about it, dude. No, I got it, man. I want that $1 million.
Yeah. Well, the question is, would you be able to survive on Survivor?
I may be very snowflakey, but I didn't grow up that way. And I grew up doing a lot of camping and a lot of like tougher things. And like I roll around with boys and do jiu-jitsu. Like I feel like I could stay alive. And
until you have to got an animal.
I would do if I want to do it. If there's $1 million on the line, I mean, I'll do it.
Oh.
I'll do it.
Okay.
On national TV.
Yeah.
How about you, Austin?
Mobility on there.
I'm gonna go Survivor all the way.
Yeah. Definitely the same. That was like when
I could see you being on The Bachelor, Rob. What are you talking about?
Oh, shut up.
I could 100% see you on The Bachelor.
He's like, I love love.
I know his other side, so I could definitely see him being on The Bachelor.
My mom is like an insane Survivor fan, like has watched every single season type. And she tried for so many years for me to just put in an application for it because she's like, you would do so good. she's like, yeah, you should definitely do it. But yeah, so I would do
you ever do it,
Survivor.
Rob? Would you actually
Yeah,
ever do it?
I would do the Survivor thing. All right, last question. This is a
Yeah.
fucked up question. This is a really fucked up question. This is a question that Austin actually removed. So if anyone's to blame, it's me for bringing it back. All right, would
Yep.
you rather have sex with your grandma or grandpa, or lose your penis or vagina? So you have to have sex with, basically for your scenario, you'd have to have sex with your grandpa or lose your vagina. These are shocking,
I
fucked up
don't
questions.
know. I really love my vagina. I would lose my vagina, I think.
Okay. Austin, what are you doing?
Can I wear a blindfold and earmuffs?
No.
No, I almost said yes. Thanks, Erica.
I was like, if I knew that,
We're gonna fucking look at what you're doing.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I guess I'm losing my dick then.
Yeah, this is a hard one. This is like one of the ones that I'm like, fuck, I don't even know how to answer this because I love my dick and I love giving my
now
dick.
it's your turn, Rob.
Yeah. I guess
Is
my
that one of
sex
your
life.
guys' dogs or is that mine?
It's
It's
Rob's.
my dog. It's
Oh.
Allie.
It's Allie.
She knows that the podcast is wrapping up. Fuck.
Pick one, Rob. Hurry up.
There's no good answer. Just pick which one is going to give you less shame. That's what I did.
Penis. I'm losing my penis.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
That's like what I'm thinking too. I'm like, if I say it the other way, it sounds super fucked up, and it is fucked up. So I'm gonna lose my penis. Oh god. All right.
No more sex ever again.
Oh fuck. You can't even jerk off. Like it's gone. All right, can we move on to something else? Let's wrap this motherfucker up, man.
Yeah, I mean, so that's it. I just want to thank you again, Erica, for coming on and blowing Rob's mind and actually teaching him some stuff.
Yeah,
for sure. And thank you too, because you contributed to the September recovery event.
Yeah, of course.
So I appreciate that. That.
Cool. And we'll wrap up and then we'll talk to you after we end the podcast for a second too. We've had people accidentally just like hang up as soon as it was over. We're like, hey, like we're gonna talk to you after. But with that being said, Austin, unless you got anything, I'm gonna take us out.
Nope, I think you're good. Go ahead.
All right. Well, this was the Fight Like Hell podcast, episode 29. We appreciate everyone that's tuned in. And anyone who's new that wants to give us a follow, subscribe, unsubscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on all the platforms that you can stream on. Give us a check out. Fight Like Hell. Thanks for joining us. Erica, you're fucking awesome. Peace, everyone.